Celtics coach Joe Mazzulla calls out the team, and he says something that you never want to hear if you're a player. We'll be diving into exactly what he said, plus Celtics star prospect J.D. Davison is dominating the G League as he's one of the early frontrunners for MVP. Finally, a stat about Derrick White that may or may not blow your mind, so stick around for all that on this episode of Celtics Digest. But before we get into the video, quick reminder, if you're one of the thousands of people who has not hit that subscribe button that's watching right now, hit it. We have daily Boston Celtics content all season long for you, and hey, we hope that this is your home for it. Let's dive right into the video, and I want to start with Derrick White stat. The Joe Mazzulla stuff is coming a bit later, so you want to stick around for that. But look, we all know Derrick White is an incredibly impactful player, and I kind of lied. I actually have two little stats for you, but with him being out now, next game at least for personal reasons, we hope everything's going okay with Derrick White. I wanted to show you some impact stats that show how important he is for this team. If we didn't already know, we now have some incredible evidence. So let's dive into this. NBA University tweets players in the 85th plus percentile of both offensive and defensive expected plus minus. You look through this list, oh yeah, some names there. I don't know why they wrote Shevante. I mean, that's his name. It's just strange to see it like that. But who do you see here but Jayson Tatum and Derrick White? Look at these other names. Kawhi Leonard, Karl-Anthony Towns, Chet, Scotty Barnes, Paul George, Jayson Tatum, LeBron, Shea, and Joel Embiid, and Derrick White. He is one of the most impactful players in the NBA. Not top 100, by the way. One of the most impactful players in the NBA offensively and defensively. This guy, every single game, whether or not he's putting it up on the stat sheet, he is incredibly valuable because we've seen some games where he just doesn't go out and score a lot, but he brings so much value with his defense and just his versatility offensively as well, finding the open man, cutting, making a defender have to switch onto him, stuff like that. But why would I just say, oh, he's really important when I can just show you? Take a look at this. The Celtics are 10-1 with Derrick White this season, a 91 win percentage, and without him, they're 1-2. They've lost 2 games and won 1 without him, and they're 10-1 with him. Their team points per game is about the same. Their stats are kind of about the same, but look, the assists per game actually drop significantly when he's not in the lineup, and there's just plenty of evidence here. Look at the 3-point percentage too. I mean, look, it's a small sample size. I'm not going to claim Derrick White not being in the lineup is causing the Celtics 3-point percentage to drop. No, but all the same, the record speaks for itself. I know small sample size, but it's clear from the eye test. When Derrick White is there, the Celtics are a better team. So we hope that all is good with Derrick White. We really hope he gets back soon. And yeah, one of the most impactful players in the NBA, believe it or not. Let's jump into the second topic, and we got to talk a bit about J.D. Davison. A lot of Celtics fans really love J.D. Davison, depending on the source you look at, whether it's Basketball Reference, who lists him as 6'1", or some news articles list him at 6'3". Doesn't really matter. He's also listed as a 6'1" shooting guard on Basketball Reference, but a lot of other sources say he's a 6'3" point guard. Regardless, he's playing mostly point guard for the main Celtics this season, and oh boy, take a look at this. So far, even the Boston Celtics tweeted this out. 23 points, 6 boards, 11 assists. 29 points, 10 boards, 7 assists, 27, 4, 12, and 3 steals. He is cooking through 3 games. And I mean, I know it's early, but you got to think that he's already one of the front runners for MVP if he keeps this up. And again, I know this video is full of small sample sizes, but the thing is, with these averages, 26.3 points per game, that's sixth in the entire G League. Actually, I think since this was posted, his averages might have gone a little bit down because I'm looking over here and it's actually closer to 25.5, but still, he is also first in the G League by a landslide in assists per game. And also 6.7 rebounds per game for a guy his size is absolutely insane. But if you've watched J.D. Davison, you know that his athleticism is really his bread and butter. For a guy as small as he is, he has bunnies out the gym. This guy is slamming all over the like every single time he gets a little lame, he's dunking the ball. He's getting lobs thrown to him, but also throwing lobs is one of his strong suits as well. Go watch a J.D. Davison highlight reel, maybe in summer league, maybe from the G League last year, or even in the first few games this year. He's not afraid to drive in the lane, draw the defender, and toss a little lob to his big man. It's something he's done a lot, something he's really improved upon, and it's something that is clearly leading to his assist per game numbers. Now, I'm seeing some Celtics fans saying, oh, why don't we just bring him on the roster? Peyton Pritchard's good. He had a nice start of the game yesterday versus Charlotte. We'll get into that game a little bit later as well. But J.D. Davison, I still think there's a few things he needs to shore up before he's like a full-time NBA rotation guy. He played, 10, 12 games last year for the Celtics. Nothing super special because, again, he's a small guard. He is quite athletic. He has the tools, but his defense is just not quite there yet. He has the tools for it, for sure. Like, these athletic guards, if he can just get motivated to get up in the defense's face, that'd be awesome. And his rotations, we saw in Summer League a lot, right? If you guys watch Summer League, J.D. Davison's strong suits, maybe not defense. Also, his three-point shot, he's more than capable of hitting a three-point shot. It's not like he's awful, but it's just something you'd want him to improve upon if he were to come to the NBA level. But regardless, this guy's one of the most fun players to watch. His slashing ability and finishing ability at the rim for a guy his size is phenomenal. Slam dunks all over the place and lobs. He's just fun to watch, right? So go tune into a main Celtics game if you get the chance, because JD Davison is currently putting on a show that you're not going to want to miss. And hey, maybe he'll get another shot with the Celtics this season. You never know. You never know where injuries might lead. You never know when the Celtics might want a little bit of a spark, right? You bring him up, he gets like a flashy dunk in a game or something. He catches a lob from Jayson Tatum or something, or Derrick White or Jrue Holiday, and you're like, oh my goodness, that could be the spark to get you back into a game. So regardless, I mean, I don't think he's coming to the NBA anytime soon. Maybe this season they'll get a few games, yeah, but again, the fact that he's playing as well as he is, getting the stats that he is, a guy his stature, it's phenomenal. And shout out to JD Davison, former second-round pick a couple years ago. Man, this guy is balling. Now let's jump into the final topic, and this is what you've been waiting for. It's Joe Mazzulla, and he calls out the Celtics' effort. And as this article says, it's one of the most damning critiques you can receive from a head coach, and I'll show you what I mean. As I think it's this. Nope, it's not that. It's this. Here we go. So they talk about how Charlotte had been the elixir for Jayson Tatum over the years. Of course, Tatum dropped a cool 45 last night. He had 31 first-half points. But then some bad habits the Celtics displayed in the recent escapes resurfaced. Joe Mazzulla said the team was taking plays off, one of the most damning critiques a coach can submit. And eventually, Charlotte wiped away an 11-point deficit in the final 4 minutes. I don't like that we're revisiting this. I'm sure a lot of you guys don't either. It was not a fun game, like especially those free throws. My goodness. But, the Charlotte Hornets beat the Celtics. It was what it was. Go ahead 3 with 6.6 seconds left. Miles Bridges, who should not be playing in the NBA, but I digress. It's just, it was a tough night for the Boston Celtics. It was a tough night. And Joe Mazzulla was not afraid to say, quote, "This was our first overtime game, our first time where we blew a lead, and we have to go back and understand why we did it," quote, "and it comes from taking plays off and not finishing possessions." And look, I played ball. I'm sure a lot of you guys play ball, but your coach critiques you of playing or taking plays off, especially if as a team, maybe you don't feel like you did, and you hear that kind of thing. That just lights a fire under you, right? For the guys that are really working their butts off to be on the floor and to win these games, to hear that kind of thing just irks you. At least it does for me. But you got to think that's going to get under the Celtics' skin, but not in a bad way. In a good way. I saw some people saying this is kind of similar to how Ime Udoka kind of ran the ship, right? He would call players out publicly, and Mazzulla at this point is just like, they took plays off. It is what it is. And you got to think if you're the Boston Celtics and you're hearing your coach say this, like, you guys were taking plays off, it's not good enough. You got to prove him wrong. Because you don't want to prove him right. What if you go into another, look, the Celtics have not closed out games as best as they could recently. And this game was the first one where it really, really cost them late, especially going into overtime, losing in dire circumstances. I know the clock should have read a couple seconds longer, but the last 2-minute report actually shows that 2 non-calls went in favor of the Celtics. It was a mess of an officiated game there at the end. Home clock advantage is a real thing. But yeah, at the same time, look, the game should have been won at the free throw line. But again, like Joe Mazzulla said, it's about taking plays off. And if you watch these games, you kind of see what he means sometimes. And again, some people give their effort at all times. But there's some times where there's just some decisions where you're not really fully thinking. The one that stands out to me, it's just one of them. There's a few, but there's one where Jaylen Brown catches on the wing and Kristaps is literally wide open under the net. There's no one near him. He's wide open under the net, and Jaylen Brown shoots a contested 3, and it's like that's an automatic 2 points that could seal the game potentially, and it doesn't happen because maybe he's not thinking at the full capacity. Maybe he was taking that play off mentally. I'm not really sure. Jaylen Brown has definitely had his struggles this year, and while he's still a key point to this team, especially running that pick and roll with Kristaps, that's looked real good. But he's still a key point a key player to this team. It's just his field goal percentage is a career low. I think right now his finishing at the rim, I think, is also a career low. He has some struggles to figure out. His decision making hasn't quite been there. I think Jaylen's still struggling to learn how to play with a few other offensive stars. It used to just be him and Jayson Tatum, and now they got Kristaps. They even have another option in Jrue Holiday, and Derrick White some games will go drop 25. And Jaylen's not necessarily, he's a fine half-court player, but he thrives in transition, of course, as we know. So anyway, I don't mean to harp on Jaylen Brown, but regardless, it's not just him, it's the whole team. And you got to really lock in. You got to lock in for every single minute, because these games, like this one against Charlotte, that game, if that's a playoff game and you close the game that way, but that's not good news for you in the series. Those are the games that, as a team that wants to be a contender, you have to know how to close out. And it's early in the season. That was the first overtime game. And as they said, there's still lots of time to learn from this. It's not like this is, everything's terrible, blow it. No. Not even close. The Celtics are still dominant. I would say they're still championship favorites. Maybe the Nuggets. Some people say the Bucks, whatever. I say the Celtics, personally, they're pretty darn good. But at the same time, Joe Mazzulla is kind of right. in that you can't be taking those plays off. These games early season oftentimes mean just as much as a game late in the season. Whether or not you like it, these wins all count the same, and these habits all mean the same. So for a team that wants to be competing for a championship, you just hope these things get worked out. I'm sure they will, and I think Joe Mazzulla is doing the right thing by calling the players out, holding them accountable, and I'm really looking forward to see how the Celtics respond. But that'll do it for this episode of Celtics Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're pushing for 3,000 subs. We'd really appreciate if you'd hit that sub button. If you're still watching now, are you still here now? You're hearing my voice? Come back to the tab if you clicked away. Hit the subscribe button if you're still watching me at the end of this video and you enjoyed it. You get daily Celtics content. You won't want to miss it. I've been your host, Josh Gosse. I'll catch you in the next one.